Discovery, go at throttle up. Discovery, go at throttle up.
Well, good morning. You awake yet? You should be now. You should be now. It's your one-way ticket to midnight. Call it heavy metal. Okay. All right. How's everybody doing? Everybody doing good? Woke you up? Good. 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 We got a Rocket Lab launch. All the way up. And it delayed. It delayed. I'm up. And it delayed. Yep. 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 Okay, this is weird. Now what? Now what do we do? Let's see. So it didn't look like it's that big of a deal. Let me check next space flight. Yep. It delayed by an hour. What do we do? You're from Europe, so you have been awake for
Discovery,
9 hours. Derail, workers, Factorio, satisfactory. I'm up early. What do I do with my hands? I don't know what to do with my hands. Well, I'm going to go put on a cup of coffee. Okay? Hey, Tally. 5-month resub. Merci beaucoup, mon chéri. Anyway, I know you don't talk like that. But also... Bocancia also had a Prime sub. What? Why are you looking at me like that? What did I do? I didn't do nothing. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Hey, YG, what's good, man? How you doing? 30-month resub. Oui, oui. Yes, yes. How's the weather? Cold, clam. Actually, it's not too cold. It's 38 degrees out. 38F, which is like 4 or 5C. Not too bad, really. For the mid to late December, that's fine. I'll take it. Le baguette. Well, way too early for this guy. Huh? Hi, AJ, working on an Airfix Hurricane model while watching. All right. Any snow yet? No, nothing, Sawyer. Yeah, one of the perks of living near the ocean, dude. But the storms get a little... They're a little more rowdy when you're near the ocean, but that's okay. Look out, in Switzerland, the snow finally comes tomorrow for you. Watch the Space Doge guy. He has a camera. And we gotta be careful about restreaming other people's stuff, dude. Rocket Lab's cool with it, but yeah, we gotta be careful. Anyway. You're making chocolate cake with peanut butter frosting this morning. All right. Real snow, real Swiss snow coming up on Monday, like a meter of fat powder. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, dude, I don't, you know, I shouldn't talk about it because I'm jinxing myself, dude, right? But, dude, I just don't really get much snow down here. It hasn't snowed a lot. Now, don't get me wrong. That doesn't mean it wouldn't snow down near the ocean where I am, but we haven't gotten much. I shouldn't say that, but anyway. Nova, you saw Sonic 3, and you've been learning the benefits about having an EBV compared to an internal combustion engine thanks to Gravin Mason. Oh, God. What the heck are they telling you? What launch are you covering today? So this is the Rocket Lab Owl the Way Up. Let me get the cue card out. No, I'm just kidding. This is next space flight. It's a second bulk buy, a 2 electronic launch. Yeah, it's a synspective launch. Okay. So this is commercial Earth observation. Yeah. The rocket is launching out of Mahia Peninsula in New Zealand. That's why it's at such a... Well, it's not really a strange time. It's a strange time for them, believe it or not. Strange time for them, not for me. 9 a.m. is fine. I'll take 9 a.m. launches. I can do that. It's 4... Oh, geez. Yeah. 4 in the morning. New Zealand time. And it's also tomorrow. It's tomorrow morning in New Zealand right now. So it's early Saturday morning for them. Did you have a chance to check Electro Boom last night? I didn't, dude. I went right to bed. Bree and I watched an episode of the original series, and then I went to sleep, dude. I had to get a lot of sleep for this. We have a long stream today. It's going to be at the very least 13 to 14 hours, somewhere in there. So it's going to be a nice long stream. 4 in the morning came without a warning. Yeah. Yeah. Would you like to judge the Christmas event of RWP? Would be judging how those planes fit to the theme, which is Uncle Rob was never a good plane designer. Maybe. When is it? Would you mind if I drop a link to some stuff I shot on Flight 6? No, ass. You can link your stuff in here. Yeah, it's all good, man. Pace yourself. You're not 20 anymore. I'll be fine, Baz. I'll be fine. Have you ever skied? No, I'm not. You know, my parents didn't really do winter sports, except for like hockey. And I didn't really play hockey. They never really, I don't know how to ski. I don't know how to snowboard. I mean, I've snowboarded before. I'm not any good, but I don't really do winter sports. And like, no thanks. I mean, the winter sports that I did play I played basketball during the winter. Your boy's was a pretty good center once upon a time. We're a lot more than not 20 anymore. It ain't the age, Grab, it's the mileage, okay? Here's your full uncut, bigger, longer, and uncut slow-mo tracking shot of Flight 6. Oh, look at you. That's nice. That's nice, dude. That's very good. You guys click on S's link. Here, I'll link it over in the YouTubes. You guys got to check this out. It's pretty off the chain hooks. Dude, hey, Ian 41 month resub. Thank you. I was reading about I was on X, and I was freaking, I saw a post, I think it was by Truthful or something, and that guy basically said like, oh, Flight 6 is a filler episode, and now I can't get it out of my head, which is like, man, screw you. Why are you doing that? Sean Doherty, wasn't he with NSF? Yeah, Sean got a job with What About It that, yeah, he moved over there. Felix gave him he dangled a very lucrative contract in his face. He dangled a very lucrative contract. You go where the money is, my friend. Yeah, dude, that stuff happens. Photographers move around, dudes. It's no big deal. S-Master's still here. As you can see, he's not grotesque. He's still there. He's still here. He's been watching the stream since like 2014 or something. Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. Took photos at my wedding. You know, that photo that I showed you of Bree and I in the truck. Yeah, he took that. It's pretty good. What's your opinion on What About It? I get told he spread some lies. Anyway, anything that we can do to get space news out, dude, I really don't care. I don't think he spreads lies, but you know, yeah, they don't do that. The videos are a little clickbaity. The thumbnails are a little clickbaity, but dude, that's the YouTube hustle, dude. If it's something I'm learning, you got to do what you got to do. You have to do, like, any advantage that you can take, you kind of got to do it. That's how you get ahead, because YouTube is so saturated. Hey, Rourke, what's going on, man? What happened to Just Master? I don't know. You'd have to ask him. Helengard, StarCrack got its biggest update today. Server meshing took it from 100 people, one server, to 500 people, 8 servers, no loading screens. Want to get you to play it. That's Star Citizen? Oh, shoot. Happy Friday. I'm staying with you just today. That's very reasonable of you, Mr. Unreasonable. So are you going to do the clickbait pose for the thumb thing to get the... Oh. Graham, I would probably do it in my... I've always had a thing about that. If I was going to do those crazy clickbait thumbnails, like the thumbnails, I would do it and it would be like Elon Musk, you know, holds a rubber duck in his hand. Starship is devastating or something like that, and then it would just be an informative video. You'd click on it, it'd just be a great informative video. Yeah. Elon Musk holds a banana in his hand. Yeah, it would be like that. Star Citizen is kind of the ultimate meme game. There's actually quite a lot you can do now. Guys, I still don't think it's a good idea. I don't know. Elon Musk punches Mr. Beast, knocks 2 of his teeth in. More at 11. Yeah, I'd do stuff like that. That would be funny. Vargon, you started making patches for your KSP missions. They end up taking more time than actually designing the spacecraft. Yeah, that happens. So, guys, if you're here for Rocket Lab, Rocket Lab got pushed back. It got pushed back a little bit. Their cast should be going live in about 20 minutes. Yes, that's the hustle. I know that. Yeah, but you know, the photography for What About It sucks. Like, whoever's taking the pictures over there down at Starbase just sucks. Oh, hey, how you doing? No, it's good, dude. Don't worry about it. All good, man. Oh, yeah. Sucks. Oh, yeah, it's garbage. Well, Sean doesn't say. He just said it's garbage. Just saying. While you were saying that. Do you think Booster 14 will be reused? Hey, Jim Boy, what's going on? It's possible. It's possible. Any spice for the flame trench? Yeah, I got something planned. It's that idea that I just put in the pocket the other day. No, I'm not showing it to you. It's mine. Sean has bad taste in cars. You know from experience, Sawyer? S, give me your Jeep. I'll give you $20 for it. I got like $20. And you'll fix it? Yeah. You just being generous. Yeah. So I'll give you $20 for it. Serious. You got the title? I'll give you $20 for it. And wait a minute. And you'll fix it. I already fixed it, dude. You broke it again. Just saying. I'll do 21 and sell it to EJ for 22. Yep. Don't sell it to him. Cool, we'll talk. Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah? All right. What are your thoughts on them keeping the heat shield the same on 33 as 31, with the sides warping? I mean, 31 got a little stained, Brandon. It definitely got a little heat soaked, but it definitely made it. How many times they can do that, I don't know. Hey, Paul, what's going on, buddy? What are you working on now? We're waiting for Rocket Lab to go live. Rocket Lab was supposed to launch 20 minutes ago, but they decided to launch 40 minutes from now. So they're a little bit delayed. It's probably a little early. They probably haven't had their coffee yet out there. Right here, 23, 23, 23, 24, 25, 24, 24, 25. EJ Auctioneers. Do you remember that? Do you guys remember that? I got 23, 24, 25. I got Hoagie gifted 5 subs. I got 6 subs. Give it 5 subs. Give it 6 subs down. Give 5 subs. 6 subs down. Going. What's going to my soul? I can't do the auction voice, but I can almost do the auction voice. 1 billion, fulfillion, you're doing what now? Nothing. You've done enough. I want to know who names the Rocket Lab missions. They seem fun.
Oh, this is space. I'm in space.
You didn't supposed to... I'm getting some coffee. I'm getting coffee. I'll be right back.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Oh, hey, drummer. 100 months. That's nice. You resubscribed for 6 months at... Get me some caffeine, please. You're 16. You don't need caffeine. You don't need caffeine, dude. You have enough energy. Trust me on this one. Save the caffeine for when you're in your 20s. Yeah? Yeah. Good morning. Did I miss Electron? No, it got pushed back, Jim. Trust me, dude. You're like the Aubrey Plaza of Twitch. Stop being nice to me.
Oh, this is space. I'm in space.
I'll take that. Yeah, no, that's fair. Infinite tape with the fiber. Oh my goodness. So does that mean, Bob, that I need to teach Bremo how to fly helicopters now? A little bit of an inside joke, but if you got it, good for you. Tape, thanks, man. Drummer with the 6 months in advance, Hokey. And then, dude, Grumpy Toast last night just dropping 100 subs at the end of the stream. I'm just like... God, 100 bits of the auction voice. Who will give a buck for a duck? A duck for a buck. Could throw it in your truck, a duck for a buck. I think you became Kai Cenat overnight. Kai Cenat? What? How? What did I do? Alright, let's be real. Kai is probably, well, not probably, is a little bit better at generating content than me. I'm kind of at the whims of the space program. Not to say that Kai isn't a talented individual. That guy seems super cool. I'd actually love to meet him sometime, but yeah, no. Just I don't think I'm him. I think he's got more talent than me. My talent, get up and go, and got up and left. You know what I'm saying? We have a bit of an Amish auctioneer around here where I live. You should go hear them. That's awesome, Brandon. Hell yeah. He just seems exhausting to be around. Ordon, spoiler, we're all like that. Every streamer's like that, dude. We're all exhausting to be around. Some of us just hide it a little bit more than others. Like, you have to be nuts to do this as a job. Like, you really have to want it. You really have to want. If you don't want it, you're not getting it. Who do you think you are? I am. Oh, I did it right. Still funny, Busted. That makes me laugh every time. Oh, I did it. I did it. It was me. Who do you think you are? I am. Oh, boy. Why are you pulling that out, dude? It's 9:30 in the morning. Then again, I did open the stream with heavy metal, so. Grav, you know, we can sit. I mean, yeah, sure, absolutely. But I'm telling you, Grav, I'm telling you, educational brain rot content is the future. I'm serious. Educational brain rot. Let's do it, man. Let's do it. I'm serious. That's what the kids like. Like, we'll have educational TikTok brain rot physics lessons. I'm telling you. Then you'll have an army of kids that all know what FMA means. I'm just saying. What the heck? No, I don't like that. Please don't. No, Graham, you don't understand. Dude, okay. All right. You don't understand this because you're younger. That's totally cool. When you get up to my age, okay? You know, when you're younger, you're just like, oh, well, why don't you just do the work? Don't try to conform. Don't try to conform. Don't do that. No. You don't understand. Doing that doesn't get you people's attention. See what I'm saying? It doesn't get people's attention. You got to do what the kids like. You have to cater a little bit. I can cater brain rot space news content. Believe me. All right. You think these kids are the kings and queens of ADHD? Bro, I was doing that 20 years ago. All right. You have no idea. If I let the taps off, not a good idea. Well, unless we were doing brain rot. I will ruin them. But by that, I mean make them a lot smarter. Like, with me, the kids will be going around singing the quadratic formula and stuff. I'll make it into skibbity quadratics. Trust me on this one. I know it sounds cringe. That's the point. That's the point of brain rot. You don't understand. That is the point. Right? See? It's a good idea. You just need to rant about spaceflight policy while surfing in CSGO. Yeah, we got to make sure we have no webcam. Yeah, Delta V Riz. Exactly, dude. Saturn V's got Delta V Riz. Space Shuttle, not so much. Brandon, $20 super chat. Sorry, I can't give more, but Merry Christmas to you and Brimo and Titan and your family. Thanks, man. You as well. Thank you very much. Dude, don't worry about it. Brandon, you give me your time. You're here every day. That's more than I could ever ask for. Trust me on this one. You're on a stay-home vacation all next week. Looking forward to the content. Thanks for all you do. Right on, man. You just described the Chinese version of TikTok. Just saying. Just saying. There's an army of teenagers in China that are posting memes about physics and math. Bro, we need to do that over here. We need to do that over here. Trust me on this one. Like conjunction junction. Yeah! Conjunction junction. What's your function? Bro, that was the Ewok, that was the original brain rot. Okay? Please don't. I don't want to hear this anymore. I came here to get away from my generation and Gen Alpha. Yeah, all right, Trey. All right. I don't know about you, but my entire engineering X feed is full of engineering and deep tech memes. Mine's getting there, dude, but for some reason, and I think it's because I like a lot of Elon posts, like, there's a lot of right-wing stuff in there. There's a lot of right-wing stuff in there. Like, you know, Elon will be talking about Falcon 9, and I'd like to post, right? And then then Elon's talking about something with politics, and I'm like, and then the X algorithm just thinks that, you know, oh, well, you like Elon Musk, you're gonna like Andrew Tate. I'm like, no, 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 not really. That's what the mute button is for. Oh no, I filter it out, dude. I don't just sit there like a psycho getting terrorized by my feed. I say I don't like this content and move on. But yeah, it does. It keeps. You know, I like, you know, like trucks and you know, construction equipment and like Elon posts, and it's like, oh, you like that? Listen to this Joe Rogan thing. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that, man. Please. Who's he talking to? I don't know who this person is. Please. Choo choo! There's a hype train. Oh man. Side note, I rewatched the Netflix Challenger doc for the millionth time. I keep thinking, parachute on the pressure vessel. That probably would get more people killed, Bob. Yeah, probably would get more people killed. Yeah. Dude, there are often times where things that are supposed to be safer, like the guise of safety in space flight, ends up being way more complicated and way more dangerous. So I'm not going to say that a parachute wouldn't have benefited somebody somewhere on the shuttle, right? But also at the same time, if you're thinking about this, the space shuttle was supposed to, the way the stakeholder expectations worked for that is that it's an airplane that flies into space. So you want airplane-like operations. So if you want airplane-like operations, ejector seats, parachutes, that doesn't really make sense now, does it? Right? That doesn't make sense. The first floor shuttle missions flew with ejector seats, then they took them out, right? Because it's supposed to fly like an airplane, right? I mean, the funny thing is that the ejector seats wouldn't have worked past like T plus 40 seconds. If you ejected going like Mach 4 or Mach 5, you're dead. You're dead. I'd rather stay in the vehicle. I'd rather go down with the ship, to be honest with you. At least they'd find pieces of you that way. Like, it's a little morbid, but you get the idea. But like, think about like a 737. 737 doesn't have parachutes. It doesn't have ejector seats. Why? Because the technology was mature enough to just work. With routine maintenance, it works. You don't have to worry about it failing. It's like the technology matured enough, like a door hinge or something. I just looked at my door. I'm like, what's in this room that will help me? A door hinge, right? A door hinge isn't going to fail. It's not going to fail.
Oh, this is space.
You are.
I'm in space.
Gifted 5. Right? So, the shuttle, my thing with the shuttle is that if you had operated it like an airplane, it probably would have had less problems. And operating like an airplane is routine flight. I will always say, and that is more on the effect of like Columbia. I think Columbia is very much a problem that they were operating this thing that's designed to fly every week and maybe launching it like once every 5 months or something. That directly led to more problems, which led to Columbia, right? Like there were signs.
Discovery.
Oh yeah, there were signs. They just ignored them, right? If they had been flying a lot more, they wouldn't have ignored this stuff. Now, Challenger, though, I'm just gonna say, like, it's hard to look at this without, like, with retrospect and be like, oh yeah, that's what went wrong. The big problem with Challenger was a programmatic thing. Go fever is not a byproduct of bad design. Go fever is a byproduct of bad management. That's what happened with Challenger. I mean, if you look at the early part of the shuttle program, the testing regime is atrocious because they were under schedule pressure to get it done. And that's fine and dandy, but you can't underfund something, put it on a tight schedule, and expect it to get done and get done right. They tested it 4 times, and then they tested 4 times, and that's it? That's it? That's all. Nothing. 4 times and it's good to go. Clearly you didn't expose all the... Clearly there's way more failure modes than you anticipated, right? The shuttle... If the shuttle had had a more robust testing regime and they maybe gave it a year to ramp up to operational flight, once again, a management call, then it probably would have ended a lot better. So I don't think Challenger should have had parachutes. What I think with Challenger, they shouldn't have ignored their launch commit criteria, because they did. You know, that Challenger documentary on Netflix, it says that they launched in the cold, but that's missing the entire point. Oh, well, you launched in the cold. The SRBs are too cold. Well, yeah, that's part of it, but that's saying that is your conclusive evidence of like why this failed is a really, 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 really like hilariously bad way of looking at it. If you're an engineer, dude, Challenger, so the cold wasn't the problem. All right? It was a problem, but not the problem. That isn't what caused Challenger to fail. Wind shear is what caused Challenger to fail. Did you guys watch that Kairos launch that we did the other day? They launched into a 200-mile-an-hour delta vertical wind shear. Did you see the rocket turn right and then start spinning out of control? That's what happened to Challenger. But because the SRB O-rings had failed, the segments separated. The back SRB on Challenger, the aft starboard SRB, started doing this because the O-ring failed. It started cracking and it started bending. And when it started bending, the back segment started to detach because it got hit with wind shear. Wind shear like that Kairos launch. That Kairos launch is very interesting, right? That's what happened. Hey guys, I didn't mean to open up the political can of worms. I apologize. If you could just do me a solid and stop talking about that stuff. Like, for what it's worth, on my X feed there is left-wing stuff too. It's kind of balanced, but because I like so many Elon posts that are about space, because he retweets SpaceX all the time, I get a lot more like, it's like probably 55 right, 45 left, something like that. It's like, well, if you like this, you like that. I'm like, nah. Hey, I'll make my own, analysis on what's going on with politics. But of course, I will never talk about it on stream. That's not any of you guys' business, But anyway, I think they've very well demonstrated the people problems very well. You're right, and then they had a different culture that would have resulted different. The parachute was just something that crossed your mind. I think putting parachutes on it would have exacerbated your problems. Like how putting airbags in cars can... Airbags in cars aren't fundamentally bad. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said it like that. It's like those Takata airbags in the cars. You remember those? Something in the guise of safety ended up killing more people. Now, on the whole, does that mean airbags are bad? No, airbags are probably a good idea. Parachutes are also a good idea, but in certain scenarios, they can be bad. That's actually not that's not a good way of looking at that either. Airbags save more lives than they don't, but I mean, and then in that regard, I guess maybe, I kind of proved myself wrong there, but whatever. It's still early. I need more coffee. But I think a parachute on the shuttle would have complicated things. People said, oh, why didn't they do shuttle too? I'm like, yes, let's take this complicated vehicle and make it more complicated. That's a real good idea. No, that's not a good idea. That will get somebody killed. But yeah, it's the wind shear that was the problem. I don't like that documentary because they don't talk about the wind shear. Rocket Lab should be going live soon. Yes, we're waiting for Rocket Lab. He made garage coffee and then forgot about it. I did not. I got asked a question about the space shuttle, Ewok. Go back and make your cake. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. A parachute maybe would have worked, dude, but... But you saw what it did to that Kairos rocket, right? That's what happened to Challenger. They ignored the temperature commit criteria and upper level winds criteria. You launched when your weather guy and your engineer said, don't do this, you know? I'm guessing that with modern tech, especially with materials, a new shuttle could be super awesome. Yeah. Do you see any similarities with how they're testing Artemis? Yeah, absolutely, NX. Oh, absolutely. I've been telling you guys about one. That press conference that NASA had, the Artemis press conference from 2 weeks ago. You remember that? Where they're saying they delayed Artemis 2 to 2026? They didn't delay that because of safety. They delayed that because they're not hardware rich. That's the problem. You need to make more SLS, and you need to make more Orion, and you need to test this. All right? You're already having trouble with the heat shield. And, you know, I actually went and read a paper about the heat shield. I actually learned a couple of things. One of my buddies who works at NASA linked me up a paper about the Orion heat shield. It was a technical report about the Orion heat shield post EFT1. There's a very good reason why they changed it to the block system. You know, from what I was understanding from that press conference, NX, it sounded like they made a copy of the Apollo heat shield and it worked great. It didn't work exactly right. It turns out what Amit said was actually pretty spot on. They did get cracking with their honeycomb heat shield, but the honeycombs actually prevented it from fracturing even more. So they decided to switch to a block heat shield technology, like a heat shield that's made out of chunks. It looks like a bunch of pie slices fit together. And that allows those cracks to go even further. Now, we knew the cracks were going further, and that the cracks going further allows gas to get in behind the heat shield and break the heat shield off, which is not great. It's very similar to Flight 1 with Starship, where Starship's rocket engines cracked the concrete, and the rocket gases went underneath the concrete and blew it up, and a piece of it found itself like a football field away in a minivan. Same thing. I didn't ignore it, Tigris. I went up and got a cup of coffee, dude. Give me a break. So the EFT1 heat shield wasn't great. It wasn't the best. It still did crack. I mean, I don't know if I necessarily agree with NASA being like, well, it cracked, but it's not a big deal, but let's change the entire heat shield design. You know, you probably should have kept going with what you worked and figure out ways to fix it. But they said that the honeycomb injected Avcoat Apollo style heat shield is too complicated to manufacture. And I'm like, I don't necessarily agree with that, but I mean, of course it's too complicated to manufacture. Nobody's manufactured one of these for 50 years. It wasn't complicated then. That's the real truth. There's no industrial base to make a honeycomb Avcoat heat shield. There is an industrial base to make block heat shields. It's easier to make it. And that's fine if you're going to go with that easier to make it decision, right? That's fair. I understand that. But also at the same time, if you're going to re-baseline the entire heat shield after a flight, you should probably test it again. They didn't test it again. They re-baselined the heat shield in 2015 and didn't test it until 2022. This is what I'm talking about with hardware rich. Now, you got a big problem. Because the Artemis 2 capsule is already made. And that heat shield is going to do the exact same thing. And so their solution to this problem is modifying the trajectory instead of addressing the root issue. Right? They're going to address the root issue with Artemis 3. Now, they have the luxury of doing that because the Artemis 3 Orion isn't made yet. It's not done. It's not even close. So it wasn't expected to fly for a long time. But the fact that they re-baselined the heat shield and basically spent 8 years doing just re-baselining it, and then Artemis 1, which was supposed to be a qualification flight, ended up becoming a test flight. That's imposing iterative design philosophy onto a waterfall style testing, which is not good. You're not hardware rich. There's not a lot of SLSs. They only have so many times to test Orion's heat shield before they run out of SLSs. Seriously, there's only Artemis 3 and Artemis 4. That's it. And Artemis 4, that upper stage doesn't exist. So you have Artemis 2 and, well, Artemis 2, 3, and 4. The next flight needs to have people on it for Artemis 3 to work correctly. So you forced an issue here, NX. It's not out of safety. That's bullcrap. It's not out of safety. You don't have a choice. You have to maximize your odds of success when you're forced to use the heat shield that you have on the next flight. Rebaselining the Artemis 2 heat shield at this point would just delay the Artemis program into the 2030s. So their decision to fly a different trajectory, right, keeps the mission on a relatively closer schedule, right? And also makes it so you just modify the next Orion in line. And once again, that would make sense if you were flying every 2 to 3 months, but you're flying every 2 to 3 years at this point. It's not hardware rich. You're literally repeating the same mistakes as the shuttle program. The early parts of the shuttle program, they only had Columbia. And then Columbia first launched in 1981. And then in 1983, see last, Rocket Lab is live, by the way. And then Challenger came around in 1983. And then they started testing Challenger a lot. And then they started running into issues. They started running into weird things like the O-ring failure. Those problems should have been caught in the early 80s. Those problems should have been caught because they should have been testing the shuttle every week or every couple of months in 1981. There should have been like 12, 13, 14, 15 test flights of that thing before they put any payloads on it. But that's not what happened here, right? They don't have Orion to test it on. They don't have Orion to test it on, Pashto, and they don't have a rocket to test it on either. You only have so many more ICPSs. You're not getting any more of those. See what I mean? You're not hardware rich, and that's forcing you into a mentality under the guise of safety when you really don't have a choice. You have to do it this way. There's no other vehicles to launch Orion. Why didn't Rockwell and NASA take a page from General Dynamics' book and do an ejectable cockpit pod instead of seats? Tigris, the space shuttle's pressure vessel is as big as my garage, dude. It's as big as my dang garage. The shuttle is not small, dude. Trying to get that to eject would add probably like 20 to 30 tons of mass for ejection systems, and that's 20 to 30 tons of mass that you can't spare. Anyway, Rocket Lab is live. Let's go. SLS is doomed to fail because the cost overruns. No, it's not the cost overruns, Nick. You're not hardware rich. It's not a hardware rich program from the start. What does hardware rich mean, just in case anybody's wondering? Hardware rich is having more things. Because of the infrequency of SLS launch, you only have so many opportunities to test things. So there's so many if you run into a problem like your heat shield doesn't work, it screws up your entire timeline. If you had more SLSs, they scrubbed. If you had more SLSs, you could fix this problem. Rocket Lab scrubbed. Okay, cool. Sorry. Good conversations, dude. Well, all right. On to the next thing. Let me just get official confirmation. Vargon, could SLS fly with no SRB carrying no payloads? No. No. No, Vargon, 4 RS... So, first of all, the SLS core can't stand up by itself. It cannot stand up by itself. It has to be hung, believe it or not. Feels like you test so many new things every time. Yeah, that's not a good way to do that, NX, unless you have a high flight cadence. So, okay, do I know more than NASA, NX? No, I do not know more than NASA. However, However, if it was me, and once again, this is easy to say with hindsight, knowing what we know about the heat shield with Orion. It's easy to say that Challenger shouldn't have launched, obviously. That was a really hard thing to say up until it blew up. And then it was a really easy thing to say after. So keep in mind, I don't know better than NASA, but I have the benefit of hindsight here. If it was me at the time and I had known what was going on, I would have said, you know, the EFT-1 heat shield was too complicated to manufacture, right? They said it was too complicated to manufacture. So they switched to a block heat shield because it would have been easier. It's easier to make. It's quicker to make. Okay, if it's quicker to make, that makes sense if you're launching more. But the infrequency of flight of the Artemis program, why not just stick to the honeycomb design? That's what I would have said. Just keep doing the honeycomb design. I mean, once again, I'm not an engineer. I'm not NASA, but in hindsight, that seems like a very bad decision. But your heat shields are easier to manufacture. That's all fine and dandy. Oh yeah, they don't work. They don't work. They don't work. It's easier to manufacture, though. Please see my last. Sure, man. What's up? Kathy, that's not you. What's up, Bobby? I totally don't agree with manufacturing complexity that they're saying. You could teach a robot precision injection. Yeah, I mean, keep in mind it was in 2013. Nowadays, well, I mean, yeah, dude, if you've worked on the line, you know yeah, Bob, you could do that. They do precision spot welds on the line every day, like the auto industry. That's what I mean. It's just, I don't necessarily fault NASA's engineers for making that heat shield decision. What are you supposed to do? You either have a heat shield that's extraordinarily complicated to make. What if Orion starts flying a lot, right? Or you opt for a heat shield that's easier to manufacture, right? You know, I understand why they made the decision that they did. Once again, we have the benefit of hindsight. That doesn't seem like it was a good idea, because now you're putting astronaut lives on the line for a different flight trajectory. Theodore Henry, never seen EJ before, liking it. Thanks, man. Yeah, Bob, I mean, dude, if a robot can precisely weld a spot weld that's like maybe 5 mil thick, you could do the Avcoat injection on a titanium honeycomb heat shield. Like, it's totally doable. I mean, if it was me, dude, get a gigapress like what Elon does and do a one-piece cast titanium gigapress. Like, don't get me wrong, that's an expensive solution, and then have robots inject the Avcoat. I mean, because in the 60s during Apollo, it was a dude with a caulking gun. Yeah, that's how they did it. They put the Avcoat in a caulking gun and just, okay, inject it. There's like 35,000 honeycomb to inject into that heat shield, and they did it by hand. Question about EFT. Escape from Tarkov. No, EFT, experimental flight test. Yeah, a titanium gigapress should be able to do that, dude. Why not? If you can gigapress the entire subframe and crossmember for a Tesla, you should be able to do that. You might not be able to get the casting down to the right precision, right? Because you're talking about the honeycombs. I've seen the honeycombs. I've seen an Apollo capsule up close. I've seen Apollo 11's capsule probably about as close as I am to the camera. The honeycombs are maybe the size of a BB, so 6 millimeter at best. I don't know if you could get a casting to that high fidelity, though. They're hard pieces to manufacture. You could always... And so... I'm trying to think what would be the best way to manufacture that. No, it's not stamping, drummer. They have a... Tesla has a... they have a gigapress. It's a... They're stamping a casting. That's what the gigapresses do. And they stamp out sub-assemblies for Teslas. It's actually super cool tech, right? Bob, I think that's the problem. Here, hold on. Here, I got to change the title up here. And I want to start working on the truck, but... I don't know if you could get the casting fidelity high enough with a gigapress like that. Hey, what's up, Fook? How are you? Yum Food, I got to work on the Apollo 11 capsule at the Smithsonian. Testing on it was crazy. They would drill out sections that didn't pass and redo it. Yeah, exactly. Everything was hand injected with a freaking caulking gun. Like, there's like, and once again, there's like 35,000 honeycombs on that damn thing. Yeah, drummer, look at what Bob said. Bob's what more well-versed in this than I am. Bob, you think you could do it? Do you think we could cast that heat shield? With it, you could gigapress that heat shield? What happens if you forge one? I don't know how you'd forge a titanium heat shield like that. I've never seen a cast. Yeah, that's really what's coming into my head. There's no way you're gonna get a casting with a 5. That's it. Okay, hold on. Guys, the Apollo heat shield looks like a honeycomb. It is a marvel of technology for the time. So here, take a look. That's what it looks like. See those? See those lines right there? That's titanium. And see how each one is a little honeycomb? Those were all mechanically injected from a dude with a freaking sealant gun, a caulking gun. Every single one of those holes was filled by hand. There's 35,000 of them. It's probably more. I don't know. But anyway. And then you got a titanium backer that's basically acting like a heat shield. So your ablator component is right here. Right? And then it's backed with titanium, I think. Yum Food, it's titanium back there, right? See these lines right here? You're not going to be able to cast those. They're too thin. The casting would blow right through it. Like a welder blowing through higher gauge steel. You could machine it, Trey, but I don't know how you're going to machine the honeycomb. How did they originally manufacture it? I don't know. Extrude it? Yeah, pencil, that might work. Dude, the Apollo heat shield was... Look. See what I mean? Look. That's what I'm talking about. All of it was injected by hand. With a freaking caulking gun. Unfreaking real, dude. Dude, that's like brute forcing it. That is brute forcing this. Nah, you're not going to get a routine injection that way, Graham. That won't work because basically yeah, no, that I don't think that'll do it. I mean, it might. You could just dip it, I suppose, but you could get air bubbles that way. Air could get trapped, and if you have air trapped down here, you're gonna have a bad day. Porous heat shields are not a good idea, especially if you have an ablator. You do not want porosity in your ablator, just like you don't want porosity in your solid rocket fuel. That will create non-uniform ablation and non-uniform heating. That's death. Death. If air gets caught in here, it starts heating the air in here. And if it starts heating the air in there, it puts plasma in there, basically. I mean, it's not exactly how that works. But if it starts heating the air, it'll start melting this down here. They got all the grandmas that each had 1,000 hours experience with a glue gun. It really is that, YG. It really is that. Dude, that's... 60s NASA was like SpaceX, dude. They didn't give a frick. Hey, we got to make this work. Find somebody that can do it. You know, they needed to make spacesuits. They went to sewing companies. You guys make garments. You guys make clothes. You should be able to make a spacesuit. That's fine. SpaceX still does that. They hired a bunch of seamstresses to make their spacesuits. That's what NASA needs to do. They need to get back to doing that. They had a deadline. I mean, there's also that. We've talked about that many times, though, Shaw. No joke with the difficulty in manufacturing that. They just blunderbust it. Yeah, they blunderbust it because they didn't have a choice. There's no other way to do it. They were making new technologies here. I'm trying to think, like, what 3D printing could do it, dudes. Like, now that I'm thinking about it, you could 3D print with that fidelity, but man, you would have to have a really, 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 really high fidelity printer. I think the only way you'd really be able to do this is with a laser sinterer. A laser sinterer could do this fidelity, right? You could use stereolithography too, I suppose, to get to make the honeycombs. That could do it. You think Elon is trying to work out that technology that built this heat shield? Nah, probably not. Elon's working on tiles, dude. He's working on unifibrous tiles. Now, I said an ablator heat shield shouldn't be porous. You don't want air bubbles in here.
Discovery,
the funny thing is that... Hey, Patos! What's up, man? The funny thing is that reusable heat shields have to be very porous. It's the opposite, which is very strange. You wouldn't think, but... Here's the pic I took at the Apollo exhibit. Oh, nice, Jim. Thank you. That's super helpful. Look. All right. I thought it was titanium, but it's fiberglass? Holy shnikes. Yeah, they were using phenolic resin. Oh my goodness. Fiberglass honeycomb. What the actual hell? Yeah, that actually makes more sense. I was wondering how they would make titanium. I must have read that paper wrong. The paper that I read must have been for the EFT, for the experimental flight test. They made that out of titanium for EFT. I'd have to go back and find the paper. FYI, they scrubbed to take a closer look at the sensor data. Cool. Theater, I should probably change the thumbnail on the stream, huh? Yeah, we'll do it in a second. It's fiberglass? They said it was the titanium on the NASA heat shield press conference. The Apollo heat shield may. Or the Orion one. They used fiberglass? Oh. Did I miss the launch? They scrubbed, Don. They scrubbed. I'm going to change the title up on Twitch. No, we gotta go work on the truck. We'll do that in a second. How the heck would you do that? Bob, what do you think? What's immediately popping into my head is 3D printed carbon fiber. And carbon fiber will help with your phenolic resin. It'll help as an ablator. Oh, dude, they could do this. That's bull crap. They could absolutely make that. They chose to make the stupid thing out of titanium. Like, what? What? Why? Why? Why make it out of titanium? I mean, I get making it out of titanium. You make it out of titanium, you don't need to worry about the honeycombs fracturing. The Apollo heat shield did have that problem. Because these things are made out of fiberglass, if you had an ablator crack, the crack could potentially spread to another honeycomb. But because there's so many honeycomb, it works like chainmail and it prevents the thing from cracking in other directions. The block heat shield that NASA uses on Orion right now, that looks like that, right? The cracks can go from block to block, which is why you had pieces of it missing. That's actually not Orion's heat shield. That's Mars. That's Perseverance's heat shield, or was
Discovery,
Perseverance's
go at
heat
throttle
shield.
up.
That heat shield is currently on Mars right now, if people are wondering. Composite honeycomb sounds like a bad idea. I have no idea how you make that. You could 3D print this, S. What's that, Creeper? How big is Orion compared to Apollo? Orion's a little bit bigger, but more or less the same size, Vargon. Oreos. That's funny, dude. Oreos make a great heat shield. Dude, you'd be surprised what makes a good heat shield. We actually figured out, well, not we, I didn't figure this out. If you guys know of XKCD, right? XKCD.com, they're funny STEM comics, right? The guy that writes XKCD is a guy by the name of Randall Monroe. Randall Monroe worked at JPL. He's not stupid. Way smarter than me, that's for sure. And he actually wrote a book called What If? And in one of those books, it's if you used meat as an ablative heat shield, how, like, what velocity and what altitude would you have to, like, re-enter from to cook the meat medium rare by the time you hit the ground? And the funny thing is that there's really no good way to do that because a heat shield is basically pan-searing meat, if you understand cooking terms. A heat shield just pan-sear, it's like a pan-sear. So sometimes when you take certain cuts of steak and meat, you fry it before you broil it, right? So you put it in a frying pan with a little bit of oil and you kind of braise all the sides. Not braise, you sear all the sides to keep the juices in to make the steak more juicy when you go to eat it, right? That is essentially what happens to meat if you'd use it as a heat shield. And the funny thing is some dudes from England, right, at a university in England put meat in an arc jet just to see what would happen, and it confirmed his theory. They put meat in a freaking hypersonic wind tunnel. That's so funny, man. It makes me laugh every time. Joe actually proved it too. Joe Barnard proved it with his high stakes launch the other day, which is super funny, dude. That's the best, man. 3D printing continuous carbon strands, sure, but doing that by hand? Yeah, frozen pizzas are the way to go. If you learned it from Jeremy Clarkson and Richard Hammond, oh my goodness. Yeah, BPS Space. Yeah, Joe is working on his high stakes rocket. He already launched it failures, and it was from what I can tell, it was an amazing launch, really good. And he actually used a copper nose cone. There's a copper nose cone that's shaped like a hemisphere on the front of his high stakes rocket. And he basically used that as a heat sink and put a piece of Wagyu beef inside of that and used the copper nose cone and the shock heating from the rocket going up. The copper nose cone becomes a heat sink and it became a little oven. And it cooked a piece of meat medium rare, which is really funny, dude. I don't know why I find that so damn funny. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. That's pretty funny, dude. Oh boy. That's like who put the turkey on their test stand in Astrobotic the other day? Put a turkey behind one of their rocket engines on the test stand and tried to cook the turkey with a rocket engine. It didn't work. It blew the turkey away. The turkey looked like it got hit with a shotgun blast. It's really funny, man. I don't know why that's so dang funny. It makes me laugh every time, dude. I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. That's hilarious. High Stakes is an amazing name. Guys, shameless plug for bps.space. Joe's good people. Dude, he's really funny. Really great rocketry channel if you want to learn about high-powered rocketry. Really good stuff. I think the future is using a fuel coolant loop to keep the metal cool. Stoke's working on that exact thing with their second stage, Graham. But guys, you got to remember that. So okay, that's great. The future is all fine and dandy, dude, for sure. Jim, thank you very much for this picture, by the way. The future's all fine and dandy, Graham, but okay, that would be good. Thinking about other designs for heat shields would be good if we've mastered this technique. You can't, and Graham, this goes to a theory that I have when we play Factorio or Satisfactory, right? Or Workers. Pick your industrial engineering game, or a game where you have a complicated engineering task. You can't optimize something that doesn't exist. You can't do that. You're trying to optimize a heat shield that doesn't exist, right? You have to start somewhere. You should start with what's worked in the past, and then make your educated opinion on what kind of heat shield you want, right? Because re-entering from the moon is very different than re-entering from low Earth orbit. That's you have to bleed off an extra 6,000 miles an hour, give or take. That's a big difference in your heating regime. So you should go with what works. This is why I don't understand why they redesigned the heat shield after one flight. After one flight, they ruled out that it was too complicated and too expensive to try and make this. And then they tried to do something that was easier to manufacture. And great, yeah, you made a heat shield that's easier to manufacture, but that's not doing what works. That is not doing what works. You have to do what works. And then go and try to make that heat shield. You're not going to get good testing data off of one flight. I mean, it's going to give you good data. Flight data is king. One flight. One flight? Dude, if it was me, I would have had 4 or 5 experimental flight tests on Delta IV Heavy, at the very least. At the very least. Guys, here's where my mind is going with this. Here's where my mind's going. Look. This heat shield right here, right? They got away with making the honeycombs out of fiberglass. I mean, that's super lightweight. It's a little delicate to manufacture something like that. You know, you could laser sinter aluminum and make an aluminum honeycomb. You could do that. Aluminum will ablate. It'll ablate, but so will fiberglass. The aluminum heat shield is probably a little bit heavier, but you could laser sinter this, no problem. Yeah, you could laser sinter this in blocks. Yeah, you could do that. And maybe that's what they did. Like, I'd have to see Orion's heat shield. Actually, hold on. I was like, I'd have to see a picture of it. And of course you can see a picture of it. There's a picture of it. They released a picture of it the other day. I had one behind me on the flame trench. Yeah, dude, look. See all the cracking? Look at all this. See this? That's bad. That's asking for trouble. Like, yeah, see that? No honeycomb. The honeycomb lattice is what keeps it strong. It's what prevents that from happening. Why fiberglass, though? What's the importance of that fiberglass part? It's light. It's lightweight, and Graham, in the 60s, you could not make that with metal. There's no way you could make this with metal. Not a chance. Heck, dude, that is extremely difficult to make out of fiberglass in the 60s. That is tough. The material science and manufacturing just wasn't there. You could laser sinter aluminum like this, though. Basically, you can 3D print aluminum right now, guys, with a laser sinterer. Basically, you take aluminum powder and you have a laser that basically works like a 3D printing head. And when the laser hits the aluminum powder, it'll solidify it. Yeah, laser sinter 3D printing. You could do that. That could make that. Now, here's the thing. The only thing that I'm kind of worried about is that if you laser sinter aluminum like that, it's going to be a little bit higher mass than fiberglass. Fiberglass is super light. Super light. You could mill it. Milling that would take forever, May. If they can correct by having slightly more delta V for reentry, could they uncomplicate the overall heat shield design? Level 1, what are you talking about? Are you talking about like doing a recircularization capture burn around Earth and then a deorbit burn? Yeah, sure, of course. It's a trade-off though. You're simplifying your heat shield there, and you're complicating your mission architecture. So you simplified your heat shield, right? But now your rocket needs an extra 800 delta V, or no, not 800, that's Kerbal. You need an extra 3,800. You need almost 4 kilometers extra. Kilometers. Nice. You need almost 4 kilometers extra delta V in your mission regime if you're going to do something like that. Now, Starship with its refueling? Yeah, sure. Why not use ceramics? Ceramics will resist the heat, Grim. You need something that burns. For an ablator heat shield, you need something that burns off. If it doesn't burn off, you're not shedding the heat. The ceramics absorb the heat. You do not want that. Not on an ablator heat shield. You'll melt the capsule. There's only so much capsule you can heat up before it hits critical mass and you basically turn it into a giant pressure cooker. In which case, whatever's inside is going to be unalive by the time it gets down to the ground. You got to shed the heat. That's the problem. Do you know how, like, I'm talking about trains, right? I've been playing Derail. And we play a lot of Derail. And with Derail, we talk about the dynamic braking. How you're swapping kinetic energy for electric energy and then dissipating that electric energy with a heat sink, with a resistance element. You're taking the kinetic energy, converting it to electrical energy, converting it to heat energy, because heat energy can exchange the heat with the atmosphere through convection. That is the viable medium to be able to dissipate the energy correctly, right? With the capsule, you have to do the same thing. You are dissipating 25,000 miles an hour with a 5-ton capsule, right? You are trying to dissipate the heat. You're trying to take its kinetic energy, right? And basically bleed off the heat. Think about how much energy you need to be able to shed to do that. The ablator needs to burn off. If the ablator isn't burning off, your ceramic tiles are going to absorb heat. And they can only absorb so much heat. And the total impulse of heat that gets absorbed from a ceramic tile on the way down, right, will exceed the critical mass of the entire heat soak you'll exceed the heat soak of the entire capsule. You can't absorb the heat. You can't just tank it. It's not Starship. Starship can tank it, which is kind of crazy. That's what I mean about Ship 31. It tanked reentry heating with, like, the stainless steel worked. It looked like some of it got ablated off a little bit, but it worked, which is bananas to me. Bananas. You could get it back with aero braking. Yeah, it's possible. Then you need double the ablator, though. How long until the launch? Jens, it's scrubbed, dude. Yeah, Rocket Lab scrubbed, guys. Sorry, we've been talking about heat shields, which is a great conversation, which is why I've kind of been going with it, but we should probably get going on the truck. Yeah, exactly, Tessa. Yeah. No, it'd be, meat would fall right off the bone, like if you cook ribs in a pressure cooker, man. Why not use steel? Steel is too high mass, Trey. This needs to be as light as possible and needs to be able to dissipate the maximum amount of heat. It's a trade-off, guys. The heat shields are hard to make, man. They're tough to make. Ask Elon. He knows. He'll tell you the same thing. He's trying to make a reusable one very difficult. Am I hearing ribs? It's too early for ribs. You know what? It's never too early for ribs. Now I'm hungry. This is your fault. Thermoconductivity is a big factor too. Yeah. See, Bob, you're right. You're right. That's what I'm thinking. Like, perhaps making this out of aluminum, because aluminum is very thermoconductive. Laser sinter aluminuming this is probably not a good idea. There's a reason it's made out of fiberglass, dude. Fiberglass has not as much thermoconductivity, compared to aluminum. It's nothing, right? Your heat shield might absorb too much heat, and you might ablate too far too fast. But, yeah. Laser sintering has porosity problems. Oh, if that's the case, then yeah, laser sintering is out. You can't have porosity in your heat shield. This has to be solid. Yeah, dude, it's a complicated problem. This is a really difficult issue. Use pure carbon. You can make that mesh with thin strips of metal. Yeah, Tessa, I'm trying to think about how you'd manufacture stuff in the 1960s. They opted for fiberglass for a reason, dude. That's what I'm thinking. They did that. They used fiberglass for a reason. If I had to guess, this is a huge guess, they probably use fiberglass because it's light. It's very light. And it burns off pretty well. And it's not very porous because it's fiberglass, right? Like, well, it looks like AI isn't taking those grandma's jobs anytime soon. See, now I see why they didn't make the heat shield, like, why they can't make the heat shield that way. Dude, no one does fiberglass like this. Nobody does that. You're not going to find someone in the U.S. making fiberglass like this. The manufacturing methods have changed. There's no industrial base for it. But at the same time, there was no industrial base for making it before the Apollo program either. So maybe you should just suck it up and figure out a way to manufacture fiberglass. Like, hello? Fiberglass also becomes flexible when heated. It's how I fit your race car fairings. Yeah, I know. Someone's making them. See, Bob, that just goes what I'm saying. What do you mean? You know, that's what the NASA engineers said. They said that just no one's making honeycomb fiber like that. Dude, if someone's making that, right? Someone's making some fiber honeycomb. Then it goes back to what you said. Just get some assembly line manufacturing arms and just have them zap that freaking stuff in there. It'd be way better than humans. Like, for real, dude. Oh, nice, Ash. There you go. How the fiberglass was made at 355. Cool. Thanks, man. Yeah. Why couldn't an auto fiber placement machine be adapted to lay down fiberglass instead of carbon fiber? Yeah, Pete, that's kind of what I'm getting at, dude. Dude, Pete, I don't know more than NASA, and I'm not trying to say that they're full of crap, right? Like, that's a slippery slope, because once you do that, you start getting into, like, skeptic territory. You know, I don't like going down that road, right? I don't know more than NASA. But also at the same time, the guy sat there and said, oh, there's no industrial base for this. And then, said, oh, we'll use easier to manufacture technology. Yeah, your heat shield's easier to manufacture, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. That's the problem. It doesn't work. So, Pete, I guess my question here, and I don't know, I don't know if you could answer this, dude. Like, I look at that situation, and I say, like, because I would want to go with what you know, all right? You don't know better than the Apollo engineers. Even if you're an engineer at Lockheed working on the Orion capsule, you don't know better than the Apollo engineers. You know why? Because their stuff worked and your stuff doesn't. Right? Am I reducing this to too simple of a logic problem? Probably. Right? But what do you mean there's no industrial base? We've been looking for 30 minutes and we found people that can make fiberglass honeycomb. Did you even look? Like, dude, Bob's right. You could get some assembly line robots that are capable of doing like a 5 mil tolerance spot weld and give them a caulking gun instead and just it'll look like a typewriter. Like, why can't we do this? Like, what's that? That's not an option. That's not an option. You're telling me the boat company, you're going to go to the boat company and be like, yo, we need lots of honeycomb. What are they going to say? No? What are they going to say? No, we can't do that. Boston Whaler makes boat hulls using CNC fiberglass layup. That's what like, what do you mean there's no industrial base for this? Of course there's no industrial base for it. No one's built one of these things in 50 years. Of course there's no industrial base. Find the industrial base. Make the damn industrial base for it, man. Like, what kind of backwards, like, the tech isn't there. We're gonna have to manufacture it a different way.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
What? What are you talking about? What do you mean? Yeah, manufacture it a different way that you're not sure is gonna work, and then you test it and then it doesn't work. Like, why would you leave it up to chance if you're not hardware rich? That makes no sense. Am I crazy? Like, am I wrong? And once again, I'm not trying to sit here and imply that I know more than NASA. I definitely don't. Why would you do this? Why would you opt for that? That makes no sense. Would it be in any way possible to copy the Apollo program? Rap, that's what we're saying. Galileo, thanks for the 7-month resub. And Jacob Likes Food had another 7 in there too. Thanks, boys. I appreciate it. That's what I'm trying to say. Rap, NASA said they couldn't copy it anymore because the technology to make it doesn't exist. We found the technology on Amazon in 5 minutes. And I get it. Stuff on Amazon is probably not something you should be putting on your spacecraft. I get it. But the point is that the technology exists somewhere. NASA said that doing this is too hard. That's too difficult. So they opted for a different way to build their heat shield, and then it didn't work. That's the heat shield Look at all the cracks in it. It looks like the surface of the moon. See those cracks? Those cracks are asking to kill somebody. Look at how much ablated away from it. Especially at the edge right here. That's a huge problem. Huge problem. What's that, Tessa? Yeah, I mean I'm not entirely sure that if aluminum would work, Tessa, but also at the same time, that people in the US still make honeycomb for fiberglass honeycomb for boat hulls. So the technology is there. See that? You were asking for someone to get hurt. That is if there was like one crack over here, sure, whatever, no problem, right? But dude, it's almost every single freaking block has a crack in it. Look. And these ones up around the rim of the capsule, yo, that's asking to get somebody killed. Like, I'm not trying to concern troll, but yeah, they're putting people on the next one with the same heat shield, and they're going to change the trajectory. And that probably will work. It'll probably work. But dude, yeah, Tessa, that's not exactly what we're looking for, but yeah, and they wanted to put people on that one, dude. That's so bad, dude. Cracks in the heat shield. Yeah, Yuri. I told with a blader, porous heat shields with a blader is not a good idea. That's bad. You want that with tiles, but also you're talking about something else. Yeah. Dude, look at it. It's up around the rim and it started burning off the aluminum on the rim of the capsule right there. You see that? That's not great, dude. Dude, you're down to the structure of the heat shield right there. See it? You're down to the structure. That's bad. That's very bad. This is O-ring, 2SRB O-ring bad. And dude, I don't work at NASA, but I could say that with pretty good confidence. That's bad. Also right there, you're down to the structure of the heat shield. You do not want to be down to the structure of the heat shield. Because if you get down to the structure of the heat shield, the structuring of the heat shield is going to ablate. That's not supposed to ablate. This thing is here to hold that in place. If this thing cracks and fractures off and you start ablating the structure of the heat shield, well, guess what? That's heat going where you do not want it. What happened to Rocket Lab? They scrubbed, Breed. We're talking about heat shields. And then we're going to go work on the truck now. I don't know, Gaw. Like, I just can't get over it. Why would you even make this decision? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm concern trolling. I don't know better than them. I really don't. If I did, I'd be working there. You know? I gotta go read that paper again. I can't get over it, dude. You're telling me you can't make this? NASA is saying we can't make something. Yeah, I've seen it, Brandon. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, guys, I really don't want to turn this into a thing where we think we know better than NASA. That's a losing mentality because you don't know better. There's so many YouTube videos out there of people going, well, I know better than NASA. They shouldn't have done this. That's not how this works. I know that's not how this works. But also, I really just, in the same breath, what do you mean there's no industrial base? Figure out an industrial base. You know, this whole off-the-shelf mentality doesn't work all the time. You know why it doesn't work all the time? Because there's no off-the-shelf heat shield for trans-earth injection. There's nothing. We're good at making heat shields for Martian entry, descent, and landing. And right now, there is some industrial base for making heat shields for low Earth orbit reentry. There's no trans-earth injection velocity reentry heat shield industry. And those are different heat shields, guys. They're two different things. It's like comparing a pickup truck to a smart car. It's just, yeah, they both have four wheels. Yeah, they're both vehicles. They do different things. Elizabeth Zoidberg came out there. Yes, my friend. Destin Sandlin figured out that he knew better than NASA. Yeah, true that, Mayor. That's a good point. I mean, Yuri, it'll probably work. Artemis 2 will probably be fine because NASA understands this. They understand that they're kind of in a pickle now because they chose to redesign a heat shield because they chose to deviate from the formula that works like 10 years ago. It'll probably be fine. I don't like probably would be fine with people on board. I don't like that. Neither does NASA. That's why they delayed Artemis 2 to 2026, because they're going to be sitting there testing the heck out of this heat shield with different trajectories in the ArcJet. But the fact of the matter is, guys, is that there's no way to test the whole heat shield. There's no way to test the entire heat shield as a whole. You could test it in, you could test blocks of the heat shield in the arc jet, but there's no testing stand on Earth. There's no arc jet big enough to be able to handle testing a 5-meter heat shield ablation. It's just, that doesn't exist. And if that's the case, if it doesn't exist, your best test stand is flying it. But they can't. They can't fly it because they don't have a rocket that can. They only have 2 more rockets right now that can fly people. You only have Artemis 2 and Artemis 3 that can fly, or not fly people, that can fly Orion. Isn't that a phenomenon you find a lot surrounding scientific topics, knowing better than the scientists? It's a phenomenon that I encounter, Rap, because of what's called Dunning-Kruger. People think they know better, and you don't know better. You don't. I don't. There's a reason why they did this. I just want to know what the reason is. I want to know who made that design decision and why for redesigning the heat shield. Maybe we should go listen to that press conference again. But anyway. Oh, yeah, we should, dude, let's use Serial. I'm in. Pat, I find on the internet there's a lot of people with Dunning-Kruger. There's a lot of people that think they know better. And Dunning-Kruger is an interesting, like, sinusoidal correlation between knowing a lot and, like, thinking that you know a lot and actually knowing a lot. The reality of the situation is that when you first get introduced to a topic, you know, as you learn a little bit more about said topic, you gain a lot of confidence, right? And you think you know everything about it. I see this all the time. Like, and I'm a victim of this too. This happened to me probably like 5 or 6 years ago. You know, you think you know everything, you think you got it figured out, right? You don't have it figured out. And then you get humbled by either looking like an idiot or figuring out that this topic is the subject matter that you're looking into is way more complicated than it actually is, or than it seems, excuse me. I see that a lot on the internet. I see people thinking they know better. You don't know better than NASA. And 5 or 6 years ago, I figured out I don't know better than NASA either. I think Mission Mode 2 was probably the most humbling of that. The moment you think you have it figured, you wrong. Right? Why not use the Perseverance heat shield on Orion? Martian entry, descent, and landing. So, Martian entry, descent, and landing, Yuri, is not nearly as violent as coming back from the moon to Earth. Mars's atmosphere is very thin. It's very thin. So, hitting it from on a trans-Martian injection trajectory gives you a pattern ablation that's similar to entering from low Earth orbit. Yeah. The Perseverance heat shields, long story short, they're not good enough. They're not good enough. If you put a Perseverance heat shield on Orion, it'll do the same thing. It'll break. You'll get block removal because it's too much heat. I've always heard that a pilot with 100 hours is the most dangerous. Yeah, you think you know everything. You don't. And I understand that. I don't know more than NASA. And that's why I'm trying to understand instead of saying I know better. Are we playing anything today? Let's go work on the truck. I said we'd work on the truck. We need a wind condition with the truck here. The wind condition is getting the coronet in the garage because the truck runs. All right. I got my work clothes on, so let's go. If you're on the YouTube side of things, I hope you enjoyed this Rocket Lab scrub and resulting heat shield discussion. I'm going to finish my coffee, but you know the drill. I'm going to jog the VOD, so, yeah, we have a different segment here. If you're on Twitch, just chill. You'll see the title screen for a moment. Thanks for all the info. It's been great. Yeah. Oh, it's good, man. I don't understand. What do you mean there's no industrial base? Of course there's an industrial base. People make boats like this. It's like, seriously, though. Like, what the heck? Unbelievable. Like, what? Where's the Camaro? Oh, Jens, the Camaro is outside. It's outside and covered up. Don't worry. Like, I'm not... Yeah, it's covered up. I have it basically under wraps in my driveway. We ablated away the Rocket Lab time slot with heat shield discussions. That we did, my friend. That we did. Okay, let's go look at this debauchery underneath the truck that I did so you guys can all laugh at me. I'll be right back in a second. Okay, we're back. And we have the combination. Did you enjoy the intermission music? Did you enjoy it? Come see the lovely me. And now, on to something completely different. Your head is now full of this song. That's not a bad song. All right, if you guys didn't like the song, don't worry about it. Though the guy here at the EGSA, we value your feedback. I want to let you know that the guy that chose that song to play during the intermission has been sacked. You fired him last time. Well, yeah, we would. Well, because that clearly wasn't the right solution, Vargon. So the guy that actually fired the guy that chose the music last time, I've also fired. I've sacked him as well. And then we just hired a new guy and we sacked him as well. Yeah, I'm a tough guy to work for. Yep. Nice, Nova. That's pretty sick. That's a sweet picture. I'm going to take that and put that in my reference folder. Thank you. All right, so let's get out to the shop. Let's get going. We're going to try to take that pan off. It's going to get messy. So we need DJ back. Well, YouTube and Digital Millennium Copyright Act pretty much sacked DJ. Sorry. How many gigs are in the reference folders now? Almost 20 gigs of pictures. Okay. I mean, we got some good pictures in there, YG, for what it's worth. We got some good pictures, dude. All right, let's go. I mean, take my phone with me, just in case something goes wrong with the stream. That proved to be a good idea last time, because the base station went out. All right, stand by for loss of signal from the office, as expected. Oh, yeah. I should change the title on Twitch. That's probably a good idea.